Sit back as we begin our consolidation of power. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. Today we're going to go over some of the information we got about Twilight of the Republic, as well as discuss our thoughts on the 3 sets for Year 2 of Star Wars Unlimited. To start us off, Dudeness, what are your thoughts about what we know so far about Twilight of the Republic?
What do we know about Twilight of the Republic? Well, on not the gameplay stream, but the stream before that, they mentioned talking about trying to expand different archetypes into different color pairings, because in set 1 and set 2, really, aggro is more hero-focused, control generally is more villain-focused, and they're trying to make that not as true for set 3, and that's what I'm most looking forward to, is the ability to play some proper villain aggro, even though we do have Kylo right now, but more actually aggro statted units. One I'm looking most forward to from the small amount of previews we have so far is the Separatist Commando. The 2-drop yellow, black, 2/3 little droid trooper boy that says, while you control another Separatist unit, this unit gains raid 2. So it cannot attack immediately for 4. You have to play another Separatist unit on turn 2 before you can swing for 4, which does give your opponent the ability to trade into it or just remove it. But, I mean, I like swinging for 4 on turn 2. That seems pretty cool. And I'm interested to see more Separatist Matters cards, right?
Like if we get a Separatist fleet lieutenant?
Oh, I mean, we can only imagine, but I'm not sure we will, actually.
We probably won't, but that'd be a really good card with this guy.
This guy would be busted with that card, dude. Like, give him +4, essentially.
Yeah. He takes 6.
That would be rad. I would love that. That would spark immensely amounts of joy.
Well, it's an interesting card, just in contrast to Asajj, because Asajj is if it want to attack. If you've attacked with another Separatist unit. So it's just kind of interesting how one of them, this one only requires you to possess the unit. So maybe if there's like a base that makes a droid token, which I don't know if we'll have that. But if we did have that, if it created a Separatist droid token, then this guy could be swinging pretty well as your first action for 4.
4 is a lot.
With your point about the Kylo, though, the Kylo aggro deck does... It's an aggro deck as it is. It does seem more of like a go tall aggro deck, where Kylo's ability makes a unit stronger, making it bigger. Where these droids and this new villain aggro will be a wider strategy, which Dudeness, I know you like.
Yes, for sure. And go wide was definitely more of a hero strat up until this point. I mean, in fact, in set 1, that was like the green color identity. Hero was go wide, villain was go tall.
But did it actually go wide though? Like, I feel like for me that never really hit.
That was the design intent, why we got cards like Leia and Rebel Assault to help attack with multiple units, right?
And Maz is kind of he's both a go wide and a go tall, but he kind of encouraged you to go. He goes tall when you go wide.
Yeah, but like I feel like playing a bunch of 1-drops in your deck was like a real bad thing to do in set 1.
Sure, it was bad, but it was their identity.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's why they got cards like Bell or Organa and the most banger of all the 1-drops possible.
And then also Alliance Dispatcher, like just these idea of these smaller units. I mean, its biggest card was Home 1, which was a big thing to hit, but that also helped you go wide.
Because it brought in an extra unit, right?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I guess also you had what's the 1/4 with Restore 1 that pings things, basically? Akbar?
Yes.
Yeah, Akbar.
So
does damage based on the number of units that you control, right?
Which, I think going wide. That guy might get a lot better in this set, because all these tokens, it's like, I can do 3 now on turn 2.
I'm playing Akbar in the on 2 ECL list, just trying to go wide. And even there, he's pretty good. Because for 3 costs, it's a pretty good ability. For 2 costs, it's a really good ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
get your Akbars.
Especially because he for sure does 1 damage. He's guaranteed to do 1 damage on the ground. Mm-hmm. Minimum. So he's never doesn't do something.
I've had some games where my opponent first turn plays a Death Star Stormtrooper, and I play turn 1 Akbar and just nuke it.
With Han 2, to clarify.
With Han 2, very specifically, but I mean, it's a play that is available to you if you're playing Han 2.
Especially with certain token units that are 1/1s, that can also be a play we might see often.
I would love to do like a U-wing reinforcement into like maybe like an ambush unit, a smaller unit that creates a token, and then Akbar, right? Because then potentially you could have like 4 units. You can kill like 2 things and put 4 units on the board and be like, here's U-wing reinforcement, friends. Also, U-wing is also a go wide strategy, I guess.
I was just about to get there. I was just about to get there. I was like, hold on. That's another card that supports go wide.
All right, never mind. I lied. I take it all back. Everything I said was a lie.
It's a good thing that you're pretty good at playing the cards. That's why we keep you around.
True. I can't remember card names or anything to save my life.
And so, one thing about U-wing, though, is you could play Maz into Captain Rex, and then that would at least give you a 4/4 Maz.
Does
it would only give you 2/2 Maz.
The tokens?
Because Captain Rex says when played, create 2 clone trooper tokens. Nowhere.
So you're not playing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that was one of my first things I thought when they spoiled Maz. Was like, man, is this going to work with token generation? Because if so, Maz might be pretty good, but no, it's not.
Yeah, so we'll have to see with the other colors how they kind of change.
I mean, the new card we just got, which is a good segue, Consolidation of Power, the new 6-cost command villainy card that reads, choose any number of friendly units. You may play a unit from your hand if its cost is less than or equal to the combined power of the chosen units for free, then defeat those chosen units. So this is sort of a mix between a go wide and a go tall strat all mixed into one card. Because you're going to want to be wide in some way, usually, to get the most use out of this card. But then you're trying to play one big unit, which is going tall. So, I don't know.
Well, one thing that you can easily miss on this card, sorry, Jrod, is it's the power of the units. So you play the card, the cost is equal to the power of the ones you sacrifice, which I'm actually a little bit excited for with Krennic, because if I can get like a certain units that are going to be damaged to get a little bit stronger, maybe I can get that little extra value to play my Devastators out. It is possible to, if you get the perfect hand, play a Devastator turn 4, which is pretty good.
That seems good, yeah.
I was going to say, this card reminds me of the big and tall stores. Need to be both to get into this store.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm excited to see. I'm excited for Consolidation of Power, personally, just because with Krennic, that extra value of the extra power. At first, I read the card and I thought it was just. I mean, I thought it was like Polymerization from another card game that is not the most oldest one this time. But yeah, this one's a power polymerization rather than just a level or cost polymerization.
Yeah,
I just want to say this card would be really good if we had like a rallying cry effect, but instead of giving him raid 2, which straight gave him +2 or something to that effect. So then our units are buffed up more and can much easily bring out.
You have the double green card from set 1, the one that everyone hated, but could be better now.
Attack pattern belt.
+3, +3, +2, +2, +1, +1. That's 6 cost. It only costs 3, but then it costs 6 to play Consolidation of Power.
Yeah.
So it only costs 9. Oh my god.
Get your finalizer out a little quicker.
Oh, finalizer.
So one thing that is interesting is the fact that these colors, while they are also evolving, they're also staying the same in some ways. With Captain Rex, he is still giving us that green-white go-wide strategy by putting in 3 units. And even Anakin is still in that, like the aggression was the aggro color, and 5 for a 6/6 is pretty aggression-based.
It's pretty aggressively statted, yeah.
But then you've got things like Hailfire Tank, which like is a villain card, which is going big, trying to be cheap for big. So kind of, I think we're doing a good job from what we have so far of pushing the colors while also making them not be too unfamiliar with what they were. They're not completely different. This isn't a future sight kind of a set.
What do you mean by that, Faith?
That is another card game that had a set which looked into an alternate kind of future and hinted at different changes while still trying to keep the identity.
I hope they do that here at some point. That'd be kind of cool to have one of those sets. I don't know if this is actually it, but like that'd be cool to like have like that.
What would be Swoo's equivalent of an unglued set?
Well, I don't know unglued. I was going to say, if you do Visions, if you took like, I don't know if they're going to do, how much EU stuff they're going to do. I hope they do a lot.
EU is Extended Universe, for those that don't know.
It's actually Europe, but it's also Extended Universe. But yeah, so there's Legends continuity of Star Wars and also Visions continuity. And Visions continuity, to my understanding, is a little bit more out there. So I think that would be what they would do if they wanted to do it.
Okay. Makes sense.
Jrod, going back 5 minutes, we interrupted you. What were you thinking?
That's a great question, Faith. And as my girlfriend knows, I usually forget those things, so we can just move forward. I wish I knew the answer, buddy.
See, but now was the perfect time to talk about the better of the two new cards that were spoiled on Wednesday's constructed stream, and that is Aura Singh, the crack shot sniper. 7-cost, single aggression aspect, 7/6 underworld bounty hunter, has overwhelm, and the text: when an enemy ground unit attacks your base, ready this unit. Now that seems really spicy to me, to be honest. The ability to draw that this is a 7-drop that does not have an immediate impact when you play it, but it has a pseudo immediate impact, because if your opponent just attacks your base, you ready it up. 7/6 overwhelm is not something you genuinely want to be hit with.
I will say this card doesn't technically have the villainy symbol, but this card has the villainy symbol. And let me explain why I say that. The reason I say that is because in Hero you have Wrecker for 6/7/6 overwhelm and has a when played ability. So he's just strictly better than Oris, right off the rip. So that's why I think that she's going to lean more towards maybe some villainy decks for that reason. I think she's fine. I don't think she's better than the other card spoiled, if I'm being honest. I think that she's a solid card, but I think the other card has more potential to be broken than she does.
So this card already blew my predictions for set 3 out of the water, because I was on the no underworld and probably no bounty hunters in this set, and this card broke both of those. I thought we got a decent amount of underworld set 1. Obviously there was an underworld kind of archetype in set 2, and I was like, okay, set 3, this is going to be probably really big on Republic versus Separatist. And yep, we already got an underworld and bounty hunter card. I still think we're going to get a ton of them, but she is that. I do see what Jrod's saying. Where she does have a little bit different than Wrecker is she comes onto the board and does intentionally change what your opponent is doing, particularly if they're running a go wide strategy. So this is like the anti-Dudeness card in some way. If you're playing against Dudeness, you bring this card.
She kind of feels like a weird like Mace Windu as well, right? Like Mace Windu doesn't have overwhelm, which means you're going to be pushing some damage into the base, which is certainly relevant. But, I mean, it kind of comes down on 7, maybe kills off a unit or 2, depending on how many units your opponent has. Kind of feels like the same as Mace Windu. Comes down on 7, maybe kills a unit or 2, depending on what your opponent has.
I think the important part about this card is which text is not on the card. And that is, use this ability once per turn. The fact that that's not there just really lends itself to some interesting... I could see you claiming you have 6 resources, you claim the initiative, not maybe you did some other things, but you claim the initiative, and this is your first action on your next turn, and then your opponent is left. They can't attack your base without her readying up. And then it's like, okay, if their first action doesn't kill you, and they have a ground force, not really a space force, then they're really needing to attack her, or else they are going to take some serious damage.
Yeah, she's got pseudo sentinel basically. Like it's, I don't know if she's gonna crawl you back into a game. I mean, she needs more testing for sure, but
for sure.
Like I've seen some people super high on her and some people super low on her. I'm pretty medium on her. Like I'm not saying that she's absolutely atrocious, but I'm not like, I'm not running to go put her in all my red decks and be like, oh, it's gonna be insane. Like I'm currently playing Han2 red, right? And like 6 costs for her. I'm like, I'd rather play Mason Luke. Like they do more, you know?
Right, yeah. I mean, it is important to note that she's only uncommon,
Yeah.
which means she might be more of a limited powerhouse than a premier powerhouse.
Yes.
Because
I think she'll be
really
banger and limited.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like
first pickable, 100%.
Sort of an uncommon bomb, and she's only single aggression aspect, so very flexible for draft 2 as well, which is key in draft.
Yes. I would agree with that. Yes, I think in draft she's probably, I would say, like an 8 out of 10 for cards.
At least like B+, A-.
Yeah.
Especially because I always look at like what other cards people are going to play, and since there is going to be that go wide droid strategy, that gets really interesting. Like maybe that strategy is going to maybe beat you by then, maybe it won't. But even if they're doing a clone strategy, they're going to have probably a decent amount of units, and so they're going to, again, this is going to really prevent them from wanting to go wave attack you. So I think a really good card in this set. Maybe Jrod, to your point of why it wasn't in the last set, but it is in this set.
It does feel like it could have been a set 2 card, right? Like
100%.
She was in the set 2. Nobody would have batted an eye. No one would have thought, hey, this doesn't feel right or doesn't feel in place or anything like that.
And that's why I feel that the limited this card is there for this limited environment, because you're going to have a lot of units on your opponent's board, which is going to get that effect activated.
Yeah, if your opponent has a lot of droid tokens, she's going to be a banger for sure.
Now, we only got 2 cards on Wednesday.
Which is more than I thought we were going to get, to be honest.
But we did get, so far, my favorite art of this set that we've gotten so far.
Really?
So far, for me, the favorite art. Because I'm a Phantom Menace boy. And this art is very reminiscent of that. So for those who haven't seen, we've got Palpatine, who is, he's not the Emperor yet, but he's got the hood up. He's going gangster mode. And we've got Darth Maul behind him, both in holograms. And it's a very beautiful piece of art. Jrod's probably favorite is Ahsoka so far. Dudeness, what's your favorite piece of art so far that we've gotten?
I like the battle droid art with the red background.
Yeah.
Like I've always been a battle droid kind of guy. Like, give me an army of droids. Sounds cool. So
that's fair.
Hold on, because you were actually incorrect on my favorite art. While I do love the Ahsoka art, and I'm excited to see the card that goes along with, my favorite art so far is Satine. Very little known character, but Satine is actually my favorite art. She's beautiful. I love her.
Faith's voice said, I don't recall that art. I don't know what you're even talking about.
Yes. So for those at home, Jrod, why don't you explain this art so that way those at home can figure out what you're talking about?
You should probably look it up. Since look better if they see it in person instead of me telling them what it is. The lady sitting in a chair. Go look it up. It's in like all the Discords.
Is that the one that was spoiled like last week?
816, yeah.
She's the one sitting with the little headdress looking thing and the little throne? Okay.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi's girlfriend. Come on.
I could not have told you that.
Well, I just told you that, so you're welcome.
So we realized that Jrod is a fake Ahsoka fan. Good to know.
I literally have a picture of Rex Ahsoka above my computer. Don't even at me right
now. So as we look ahead to Twilight of the Republic, we're all excited for that. We actually did get some information about what's to come after Twilight of the Republic. I personally, I wasn't excited about this before, but I'm thinking of making a cube for the first 3 sets. I'm not sure if I'll include these other sets for year 2, because I think this timeline of year 1 is really interesting. I like that. But as we look ahead to year 2, what stands out to you guys from year 2? And if we can get a prediction from you for what the set will hold.
Ooh, well, this is super easy for me because, like I've said before, my favorite part of Star Wars are the spaceships, the space battles. That's what resonates with me the most personally. And so when I see a set named Jump to Light Speed, it sparks an incredible amount of joy. And the most obvious and easiest answer to what I expect what might be in the set are leaders that deploy into space, right? That's what I've wanted since set 4, set 1 even came out. That's what I was hoping for while they were doing set 1 spoilers. Like, ooh, we're going to see that space leader any day, boys. Obviously, they never came. Probably not going to see him in set 3. But if they're ever going to be in anything, Jump to Lightspeed set 4 is where it's going to be.
Unless.
So looking at, let's just talking about this Jump to Lightspeed, it is an interesting logo. So I'm looking actually at all of, if you go to certain websites like SWODB, you can see all of the images for each of the sets. And I'm looking at like the design for Spark Rebellion, mostly black and white. Shadows of the Galaxy, yellow and black. Twilight of the Republic with the black background with the kind of the red line, and then the not white, but maybe like pearl coloring for the letters. This one we're getting, I really think they did a cool job with the gradation. They start off yellow near the jump to, and by the light speed it gets orange, and then by the X-Wing there it gets red. So that's kind of an interesting thing I saw that stood out to me.
I just want to say they also kind of like took our logo a little bit, because there's a circle and a ship flying out of the circle. Just a little, just warning them. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I was kidding. There's no warnings. It's totally fine. You probably had it first. It's all good. Just kidding.
It's time to send the cease and desist letter.
Yeah, Jump to Lightspeed definitely sounds like a Dudeness set with the space units.
And maybe I can sort of realize it already, but I still want to make a oops all space aggro deck, just completely and totally that's actually good. And if there was a set to make it happen, I imagine it's that set.
All right, so I know your favorite thing to do is give us spoilers of cards that don't exist and talk about speculation. So if you can since you're really excited about a space leader, what is the first space leader you'd like to see? And would the front side and back side be the exact same, like the same name?
That's such a good question. Like, I imagine the front side is the pilot, like a Wedge Antilles or a Luke Skywalker. And then when you deploy them, they deploy into their respective X-Wing, and now they're red. I don't know the actual names or whatever, but red whatever for Luke and so on and so forth. And then they're in the spaceship in space. Or it's, Han Solo, he deploys into his Falcon, or Akbar into Home 1, or Vader into his TIE Advanced, right? Like, whatever you want.
Yeah, that's how I think you'd have to do it. It would seem weird just to have Luke Skywalker in space. So it would seem like it would need to be the ship on the other side.
So maybe it's like, it's still Luke Skywalker leader, but the title is Red, whatever he was. I don't remember.
What?
And then
Red, whatever he is.
I don't. The only Red I know is Red 3, because
Red 3 standing by.
But obviously Luke's not in Red 3, so.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, though. I mean, I just see what they do in that design space. You would imagine it would have to happen.
I mean, that's what I want to happen. I've been disappointed before.
So going to the next set is Legends of the Force. This one also has actually a gradation. It goes, but instead of left to right, it goes up to down in the design coloring. It's blue as well. It's the first kind of blue we get in the design. So it did stand out to me from the color. And Jrod's shaking his head that I'm talking about the colors of the sets.
Yeah,
but
I am very much.
But this one, I think, from what I've been kind of looking around, has a lot of hype going into it. And that hype can be built around one of the words in this title. So we talked about the extended universe of Star Wars canon and of the Star Wars universe. One thing in the Star Wars universe is the idea of Legends continuity. And this is something that I've seen a lot of people talk about with this set, is they want a lot of like Legends characters from Legends. And I think there'll be people disappointed if there isn't some. We really want to understand how unlimited is this Star Wars Unlimited. Are we just talking about canon stuff, or are we going to get things from outside of the main canon? And this is going to be that set. I think we're going to test that. So I'm excited to see what Legends of the Force has. I would love to see. So I played Star Wars miniatures with some friends, and I loved Cade Skywalker, and so I would love to get more. I'd like to get him as a card.
Who?
Cade Skywalker.
Who?
It's Cade Skywalker.
Maybe try answering a different way.
Oh, okay. Cade Skywalker. He's a
Yeah, guys, now I'm with you.
Yeah, he's actually it's a grandson of Luke. Pretty sure he's the grandson of Luke. Or at least, yeah.
Which is more canon because he doesn't have a grandson because he's not with Mara Jade because he dies in the second movie in the new ones or something like that. Right? He was a Force Ghost without any grandkids. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that all works. However, yeah, he's just a character who I vividly remember because he had like a gun and a lightsaber in Star Wars miniatures. And he kind of goes through his own arc. I think actually, when I think of Dudeness as a Jedi or as a Force user, I might think of Cade Skywalker actually.
Okay.
Well, so he's not the first Jedi to have a gun and a lightsaber. Just to be clear. No,
I didn't. I said first. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I'm just saying that there is another one. Can someone name that? No, nobody.
I definitely can't. No.
It's Ezra Bridger. So he has his lightsaber had a gun attached to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact.
So
I'm a giant Star Wars nerd. Excuse me.
This is something that I want in this Legends of the Force set, and so that's my prediction.
But that's a good point, Faith. This is definitely going to be the set where we're going to see whether or not they're going to dip into the expanded universe or stick to just canon stuff, right? Because in previous Star Wars games, even like for X-Wing and Armada, they literally made new ships that became canon because they needed ships to fulfill a particular role in the game itself.
And if I'm not mistaken, Star Wars, the collectible card game, wrote canon. Like that was part of them making cards. Yeah, they just wrote in the flavor text. Yeah, they made up stories about the cards.
100%, yeah.
I know that Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the mobile collector game, definitely dives deep into like the niche stuff. Like I know Star Killer. If you're familiar with the video games, Star Killer is like one of the more powerful like Force users ever. But he's like kind of a villain, but not. It's a whole weird thing. But he pulls a planet down from the sky and stuff like that. Like he's pretty powerful. But he's in like that game. So I wonder if we'll get Star Killer in this set, or maybe the set after potentially. But I could see that definitely being, a niche character that we end up getting to see at some point in Star Wars Unlimited. Should I go on to mine then? Since
I don't think there's anything better than the one I talked about. So yeah, why don't you go on to yours?
Oh, well, it's funny because mine is the Secrets of Power. And just to be very clear, everyone, this was not planned. We actually all talked about our favorite sets for this next couple three, and it just worked out that each one of us had different ones, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, mine's Secrets of Power. And I will admit that I was pretty excited for Jump to Lightspeed at first, because I also was pretty hyped for some space leaders as well, until I saw a tweet from our good friend Tyler Parrott. If you don't know who that is, what are you doing with your life? He is one of the main developers for Star Wars Unlimited. He put out that Secrets of Power is one of the first sets where they really like make you question or really push a basic fundamental of Star Wars Unlimited to like a whole new like avenue, I guess, or whatever. That was a very vague explanation he gave, but it really got me excited for the set because it's like, what are they? What core thing about the game are they changing? Like, that's so interesting. Like, and I'm not saying like, oh, you're not going to have a leader anymore or something like that, but it's like something like I'm sure you'll still have leaders. Also, because how your deck build. So like, there's obviously things that can't change, like the resource system, whatever. But it's like some like core game mechanic fundamental is like going to change. I'm not sure what that is, obviously, but I'm really interested. And like Secrets of Power, it's like it's not attached to like a Force user, because I'm sure people immediately think like, oh, Palpatine had power. Maybe you have what's the guy? It's like Rule of Two there. I can't remember his name now.
Darth Plagueis?
Yes, Plagueis, thank you. Like Plagueis had power, all that kind of stuff, right? But really, Secrets of Power could be like Jabba had power, right? I know we just had a Jabba set, so I'm not necessarily think he's going to be in there again, but just like those are the kind of characters that could have that. Like you could have like a king in a different planet, or it could be a lot of different things. So Secrets of Power is interesting. But I will say it definitely leads me down like a dark side path. It's
Yes.
if I had to like guess,
Uh-huh.
so we could just see a bunch of cool like. Oh, honestly, if they did like Darth Revan or Revan in general, like that would be super rad. I know he's a very popular character, so if he's not in Legends of the Force, like I would say he's probably going to be in Secrets of Power. That's just a era that I expect to be in the game soon. Because I know a lot of people love that era of Star Wars. So
Qui-Gon Jinn is my number one desire for a showcase, and Darth Revan would be my number two, and then probably Darth Maul would be number three for me.
So Darth Revan?
I don't know what they're going to do with Revan. I think it could be really interesting if they had kind of a back and forth version.
Oh, wait. If this set is the set, so I've been saying for a while, they can easily do a set where they go from like light side to dark side or dark side to light side. And if that is what happens in this set, I would be ecstatic. Like having like a.
Also, I think you get a little bit closer to your mic just to.
I am very close to my mic right now, honestly. You guys yelled at me last time for getting this close, and it was too loud. So but I did it anyways, and now I'm too soft? Question mark?
No, you're good.
Okay. This set, if it did like. You had Anakin Skywalker on the front as your leader, and he was a hero. And then he flipped into Darth Vader, and he was walking down with the clones into the Jedi Temple, and it changed how your deck played or something like that. Like that would be super interesting. Would love to see something like that. And then obviously you can have like Jedi Knight Revan or Darth Revan. Those can flip, right? Like that would be super cool. You could even have Rey, because technically she didn't turn, but she had visions of herself as an evil version of herself. So like that could flip back and forth potentially. I mean, there's just so many people that went both ways. Even Luke Skywalker had similar visions. Obviously he saw Darth Vader instead of himself. Although actually he saw himself at one point. He cracked the mask and it was himself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean that would be super cool to have that, or have even like dark sides flip into light side, like you have a Saj. Spoiler alert. I apologize if you haven't seen a certain show.
Spoilers, dude. Oh my god.
I'm not saying the show, so if you don't know, you don't know. But if you know, you know. But yeah, so a Saj going from villain to like somewhat heroic, kind of in a way. Like she's not full hero, but she's definitely leaning more towards that way. So yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to have them flip flop, and that would definitely like change a core mechanic of the game of like how your leaders deploy or whatever, based on hero or villain or something like that.
Yeah, I think the Secrets of Power definitely seems to lean like a force-based set. Mm-hmm. So do we get like force speed that set, or is that still too triggering for Destiny people?
Too triggering. But the only reason why I'm skeptical on that...
Force speed, dude. Oh my god.
The only reason I'm skeptical of that is the Secrets of Power being full force, because you literally have Legends of the Force in the set before. So I'm hesitant to say that this set is like all force users. That's why I said like you could see like Jabba the Hutt being there, because he had power in the galaxy and all that kind of stuff. So it could just be like maybe like leaders, but I don't know. Secrets of Power is like makes you think a little bit more than just that. So we'll see. Game's great. Super excited. I don't know. I want all these sets. Is 2025 yet? I'm just kidding. I'm actually really excited for Twilight of the Republic too. So is it November yet?
Set 3 definitely is looking great, but these next 3 sets afterwards also seem pretty cool. But I will echo what Jrod said a little bit. Secrets of Power makes me initially think of like Sith, right? Secrets of Power makes me just think of dark side Sith somehow or another. But that feels like a weird follow-up to the previous set, Legends of the Force, which we assume is going to be full of Sith, Jedi, and everything else.
Or just Legends.
I guess maybe Legends of the Force could be like the light side Force users, right? And then the Secrets of Power could be the Sith side of that. So they almost could be like intertwined almost, I wonder.
So this kind of brings up an interesting point so for those that are unfamiliar with card games, there tends to be 2 ways you can do things. And one way is the correct option and one way is the incorrect option.
Okay.
So you print cards, and then, just a spoiler, companies want to make money, and so they want to make new sets, so you buy more cards. But eventually, that means there's too many cards in the pool. So you either have to have a rotation, or you have to power creep and print more cards. And typically, even as a rotation, you power creep slightly in that, generally.
Sure, yeah.
But so certain card games, really one main card game, doesn't have, their main format does not have a rotation.
Which card game is that?
It starts with a Y and ends with an O.
Okay.
As in, like, it sounds an O, not the letter O.
Did you believe in the heart of the cards?
Yes.
Time the duel?
Yes. And so that card game, you'll see over time the constant power creep that it needs to have because it doesn't rotate cards out. Other fork games, and most other games, to my knowledge, some games have worked with this rotation system. I know Flesh and Blood has like an interesting mechanic, actually, I think, with how it rotates their leaders and stuff. Is like this living legend system. But they'll other games will have like certain sets will be legal. And so when we look at year 2, we're looking at now 6 sets. And the question is this going to be a 6-set rotation? Like after 2 years worth of sets, which tends to be 2 years is around that time period where you usually have the system until you have a rotation. So with Jrod's point, or Dudeness' point, with like if Legends of the Force is the good side and Secrets of Power is more of the villain side, are they going to rotate out together? How is rotation going to work?
We don't know.
That's a really good question. I assume this game will have rotation because I think rotation helps to fight power creep.
They said it will, I believe.
Yeah, they haven't announced it will have rotation.
Oh, they have? Okay, I missed that part completely.
Yeah, but they announced that there will be some kind of rotation, but they haven't announced like how or when or whatever.
The exact details. But rotation will be happening, which is a good thing because rotation can help fight power creep. There can be cards printed in sets 1, 2, and 3 that had unforeseen interactions and consequences with
ECO.
Printed in sets, 7, 8, 9 or 10, 11, 12. And now they can print the card in set 10 because there's this one card in set 2 that's just bonkers with it. And so rotation just stops that in its tracks right away. It also means we'll probably be getting more actual reprints. You know what I'm saying? Like we might see the legendary Darth Vader printed again in set 10 or something to put him back in rotation because they liked the card, but they had to leave rotation for reasons, right? So
I think it's all like I'm pro rotation. There are people that are anti rotation. Their typical argument is I paid for this card. Why can I not use this card? Which I am sympathetic to. I do like when games have rotation when they have another format that you can use that card in. So like a format that is more extended, or you can use all the cards that are even legendary or in like a legacy format.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
see, I do just want to say that I think rotation is an absolute plus, and someone who just experienced a rotation in another game about a few weeks ago with the release of their newest set, which they had switched recently to a 3-year rotation. And so this was the first time in the 3 years that these sets were actually rotating out, and it made the game infinitely better. Like rotating these cards out and getting new cards in and breathing fresh blood, fresh life into the meta is brilliant, and it's one of the best things that could really happen for a game because metas get stale and cards were sort of obnoxious to play against, and when they leave, that's sometimes a good thing.
And as a brewer, I'm a brewer, and so it's fun to get like, okay, I've got these new restrictions on what I can build. As well, if like we want this game to last, if we're in 2028 and people have to find cards from Spark of Rebellion in order to compete in the current standard or whatever the current most recent format, that could suck. It could suck having to try to go all the way back and find some of these old cards. Where I think it's a lot more approachable if you can just enter in and be like, okay, these are the sets that I can work from. It's a lot more manageable. Jrod, any thoughts on these?
Yeah, I mean, I think rotation is great. people who complain about the cards, like in other games, like I did, like it's you just got to be smart about it. I mean, if you're ahead of the game when it comes to rotation and you're trading cards for cards that are in the next format that are staples in that format, like there's ways to not lose your investment as badly. I mean, you won't recoup all of it back, obviously, but like there's ways with trading, or even like if the card's going to rotate and someone wants that card and you want to trade for a card that just rotated in, then you can do that and you'll have that card for longer. It's just there's plenty of ways to get around it, and I think people who complain about the rotation are usually more people who aren't as invested in the game. I find like they're usually a bit more casual and they're like, oh, this is my only card I want to play, and it's like I only bought like a box. That's what I have, and it's like
Yeah.
cool. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not people who are like, I have all the cards. I can build whatever deck I want. I have 4 decks. What do you want to do?
That's
like those.
Pretty good point, actually.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I don't have a ton of sympathy for people who don't like it personally. I think it's great for the game, and I think most games at this point are going to have that because it's kind of just like until something better comes along, it's just the best way to handle card games at the moment to keep things fresh and fun and interesting.
And
they usually come along with They usually come along with an extra format to allow people who have the older cards to still use them in some format. Now it has to be supported in a competitive way, so like we'll have to see whatever they deem it to be their extended format or whatever their full format is. They'll have to make sure there's actual events for it. Otherwise, it'll just be like Destiny's was, where it's like random people just play it because they have the cards, but not because it's actually competitive, so no one actually cares about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. You can create a format, that's all great, but unless you support it and people actually play in it, it doesn't really matter.
I would love to see a tournament which had 3 legs to it. Like the beginning of the format maybe was the new, like the premier format, and then the second leg, if you like enough people, you had to do well enough in that to qualify for the second leg, which was the extended, and then you finished off in a top 8 with a draft. So you got kind of all 3 aspects just to like test someone's skill. I think that'd be a really cool tournament format.
I think that'd definitely be interesting and definitely would test players because obviously some players would be stronger in draft and stronger in other things. Like, so it would definitely be an interesting dynamic to add to that kind of tournament for sure. I mean, I've seen people do like the Swiss rounds is all sealed deck, and then you have like a cut the top 8 and the top 8 people do a draft.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen go from like constructed to limited like that in the past. I don't know if other games have, but I haven't seen that person. So that'd be an interesting curveball if they did that.
One thing with rotation, are you guys more of a fan of rotating out blocks of cards so that could kind of mean like after when we get into we don't know this for certain. We don't know what the actual rotation will look like. But once we start year 3, we rotate out all of year 1. So rotate out Spark Rebellion, Shadows of the Galaxy, and Twilight of the Republic? Or would you be more of a fan of when set 7 comes out, we rotate out just Spark Rebellion? Again, we don't know that's the actual rotation, but these are just ideas.
I imagine it's easier to balance around rotating out the whole block of sets, and so that might just be what they do because, like I said, it's just easier to balance that way. But I would prefer there's like an exact 6 legal premier sets, and as a new set is released, the oldest set is the one that's knocked off. Because then you could there's a part where this is how it was in Destiny, right? Like the first part of the standard year, there was only 4 sets in it, and then it grew to 5 and 6. So then it reset back to 4, 5, 6, right?
Yeah.
And so I would prefer to stick at a 6 block set, but like I said, it might be a little bit harder to balance around. I don't know. I'm not a card designer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the ability is there on their end to do a good job testing it all, I would be for it. But I do agree that it adds a lot more levels of complexity to the testers, and they might just not have enough time for all that. So I would understand if they chose to knock out that route, and I wouldn't fault them for it. I'd be okay, I understand, and it still will be fine. But I do generally hate going from 6 sets to 4 sets because it feels like you have like almost no cards again. It just feels weird.
Right.
So it's like you have this like one block that's like kind of like somewhat like meshes well, and this first one and the second block is like, we're just here, so the powerful cards are gonna get played, but there's no real synergy just yet. So I feel like that happens a lot of times with that.
That being said, the game I was talking about earlier that recently had their standard rotation, it was they introduced one new set for this new year and dropped 4 sets from that oldest year. So,
Yeah, it definitely a couple of options. We'll have to see what they end up deciding, and hope. I mean, I have trust in them though that they'll make it work. All right, thanks everyone for listening. You let us know in the comments below which one of the upcoming sets you're most excited for between Twilight of the Republic and Secrets of Power. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Cheers.
Later, everybody.